We begin in North Africa. Chad has unexpectedly announced a return to presidential elections expected to take place on May 6th this year, which will lead or end 3 years of military rule. The elections come months earlier than expected. General Mahamat Idriss Deby Itno, one of the major contenders, announced that he would run. Deby Jr.'s announcement comes as a prominent opposition leader, Yaya Dillo, this man right here, was killed in a gunfire on February 28th. Human Rights Watch has called for an investigation into the assassination and warned that more opposition leaders may be targeted in the run-up to the polls. Here is our cover report.
It was this announcement by the Election Commission in late February that ignited the poll fever in Sahel nation of Chad.
Election campaigns for the first round of the presidential election will be held from April 14 to May 4, 2024, and the first round of the presidential election will be held on May 6.
The election will end a 3-year junta rule when President Mahamat Idriss Deby Itno took power after his father's death while fighting rebels. The 37-year-old was proclaimed head of an army junta after rebels killed his father, Idriss Deby Itno. Itno had seized power in a coup and ruled the desert nation with an iron fist for 3 decades. Mahamat Deby Itno had promised to hand over power back to civilians and organize elections within 18 months, but added 2 more years to the transition. After the poll body opened the doors to campaigning for the general elections, the head of the junta also announced his candidacy for the presidential election.
I, Mahamat Idriss Deby Itno, am a candidate in the 2024 presidential election. I know the determination, imagination and commitment required at every moment to exercise the presidential office in a country like Chad.
L'exercice de la fonction présidentielle.
3 days prior to Deby's announcement, Chadian opposition politician Yaya Dillo was killed in an exchange of fire with security forces. Dillo died leading an attack on the National State Security Agency in the capital, N'Djamena. The attack underscored the tenuous situation in the Central African country ahead of the May 6 presidential election. He was the current president's cousin and a strong contender in the polls.
The police used their legitimate right to defend themselves and attacked these people, apprehending them. There were deaths on our side. There were 4 deaths on our side, 3 deaths on the side of the assailants. And from then on, Mr. Yaya Dillo succumbed to his wounds since he himself fired on law enforcement.
With the presidential elections in May, Dillo's death marked a politically sensitive time for Chad. The capital, N'Djamena, was quiet 2 days after his death. Although residents said security forces were deployed in key locations and soldiers searched for weapons at checkpoints overnight, access was also cut to the internet. Deby Jr. has since faced street protests against the delays in the elections. He has had to bring some members of the opposition into his government to ease tensions. As the Islamist militancy spreads across much of West Africa in the last decade, Chad has established itself as a key partner for Western and regional militaries. Former colonial power France still has 1,000 troops and warplanes based there, even as it has had to withdraw from Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso due to rising anti-French sentiment. The United States also has drones based in Chad. Further, N'Djamena hosts the headquarters of the Regional Counter-Terrorism Task Force. Positioned between Libya and Sudan, smugglers and armed groups use Chad's remote borderlands in regional conflicts. Most recently, United Nations experts said that Chad is a route to supply crucial weapons from the United Arab Emirates to the RSF that has been fighting the Sudanese army since April. The UAE denies this. Chad hosts nearly 700,000 Sudanese refugees from this conflict. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.